1, 2, 3, 4.
Screen time, screen time, screen time, screen time.
It's my screen time too.
Screen time.
Hello and welcome to It's My Screen Time Too, the podcast where today one mom unloads all of her existential angst onto one innocuous app for kids. I'm Deborah and I have 3 kids, an 8-year-old named Tony and twin 5-year-olds named Libby and Nate. It's just me for this episode. Katie is moving, so instead of the two of us reviewing a show together, I'm taking this opportunity to warn all parents against downloading the nuisance app named Disney Magic Timer. It will ruin your life. And by life, I mean the last 5 minutes before you have to leave for school in the morning, which are probably already really harried and awful if your life is anything like mine. And I also mean the part of bedtime where you gently remind your children to brush their teeth before you read them a couple of stories. Although if you happen to like negotiating and bargaining with your children, or if you take pleasure in prying a glowing screen out of their warm little hands at times in the day when they're overtired and having trouble with transitions, or maybe you like to listen to knockoff Disney melodies on a loop. And no judgment here, perhaps the Disney Magic Timer app is right for you and your family. Why did I pick it? I didn't pick it, not intentionally. All I did was bring my kids to the dentist for a regular tooth cleaning, like I do twice a year. And they were given bags with new toothbrushes, those miniature floss rolls that don't last very long, travel-sized tubes of kid-flavored toothpaste, not flavored like kids, but it comes in a flavor that kids like it's fruity. And on the bag that held all this stuff was an advertisement for the Disney Magic Timer app, which was supposed to be compatible with the Disney licensed characters pictured on the new toothbrushes. I think my 5-year-old's got my daughter picked out a Cinderella or some Disney princess toothbrush, and my 5-year-old Nate, he picked out, I'm pretty sure it was a Cars toothbrush. So, thanks to Metro Dental Care on 46th and Bryant in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I have plenty of complaints to vent about for this bonus episode. They are not a sponsor, but Metro Dental Care, if you are listening and if you want a regular promotional spot on here, call me. You have my number and all my health history and insurance. So, according to information from Common Sense Media, this app was released in 2014, and on iTunes, the app is described in these words: bring more fun to your daily brushing routine with Disney Magic Timer by Oral-B. Now featuring 23 of your favorite Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars characters, use this app to seamlessly encourage your kids to brush longer. Collect a new digital sticker after each successful 2 minutes of brushing. Track progress with stars and milestone badges on the brushing calendar. Longer, happier brushing for your little one is just a download away. It sounds good, right? And it comes from the advertisement for it comes from your dentist, who is pretty much a trustworthy and friendly authority figure in your life. So what's not to love about the Disney Magic Timer app? And according to the Oral-B website, this app is celebrating 1 million downloads, which is a lot. Okay, I'm going to get into it. Here's how the app works. When you open the app on your phone, as it loads, you get a little stat that claims 90% of kids brush longer with the Disney Magic Timer app by Oral-B. Parenthetical note here, on iTunes, the app description claims that 98% of kids brush longer with the app. So here, it's a pretty dubious start. I mean, 90%, or 98% of which kids, and how did they analyze the statistical significance? And what the heck was the control group of kids who didn't brush their teeth very long doing? I don't know. I suppose that lofty, unsubstantiated claims are good marketing strategies because they convince people to buy products or download apps. But I did not find this stat particularly convincing, especially because my kids didn't really brush their teeth when they were using this app. They just sort of stood at the sink and just like bit down on a toothbrush and drooled toothpaste foam down their chin and stared at the app's pictures on my phone. Like, they were not brushing. They were completely disengaged from the brushing process. It was all about the screen. So the app allows for multiple users, and you can create accounts for more than one kid or adults if you're inclined to use something like this to brush your own teeth. As kids brush their teeth, the app starts out with like cartoony toothpaste foam, and then as the clock runs down over the course of 2 minutes, music plays and a cartoon toothbrush kind of brushes away the foam to reveal a picture of Disney characters or Star Wars or Marvel. And like I said earlier, it's advertised that you can scan the characters on the Oral-B toothbrushes, but unfortunately the scanning feature did not work for me or for my husband. He has an older iPhone and I have a Samsung phone, and neither one was able to successfully scan. So one adult in my household, who is not me, took the time to print out the QR codes for different Star Wars characters and Disney characters that my kids felt were like completely imperative to view on a phone in order to brush their teeth. And while he did that, I deleted the app from my phone because I could just not deal anymore with negotiating about using the app at toothbrushing time. And I didn't want to hear about how much better his phone was for toothbrushing because he had all the scanned characters. So I just took it out of the picture entirely. And also the app had started crashing my phone. Like, I had all of these problems with my phone, and I tied it all back to the point in time when I had downloaded the Disney Magic Timer app. So that resulted in a brilliant counterpoint strategy on my kids' part. They started to refuse to brush their teeth if their dad wasn't home. And not really their dad, just their dad's phone. They didn't care about him. They only cared about the phone. So, Oral-B, I have a new marketing strategy for you. I think a better phony stat to open your app with would be never uninstall, because 100% of kids who don't have this app refuse to brush their teeth entirely. My overall thoughts about this app are, I strongly dislike it. Hate it, actually. It's dumb. It's unnecessary. It didn't work. It didn't work because, like, technically, because we couldn't scan to get additional characters. And it didn't help my kids brush their teeth any better than they do without an app. And it really ruined my life for a certain amount of time every day for like a week. Because it's really frustrating and demeaning when you can't get your kids to do something so simple and necessary to life in the industrialized world, like brush their teeth. And at one point in the Disney Magic Timer app saga, where my husband had it on his phone and I did not have it on my phone, and we're not always both home at bedtime, I realized that the standoff that I was having with my kids over oral hygiene probably does say something more about my inept parenting skills than it does actually about how effective the app is. But I am totally fine with scapegoating technology, so I still place all blame entirely on this stupid little app. And if they get cavities the next time we're at the dentist, I know who to blame. It's Disney Magic Timer by Oral-B. A couple of words on the music and animation. The animation is fine. It looks just like your favorite characters from Disney or Marvel or Star Wars. Unless you go to great lengths like my husband did to scan the QR codes, you can only access Mickey Mouse. But you can scroll through a bunch of options that are on lockdown, like Winnie the Pooh, a bunch of Star Wars guys, a bunch of Marvel superheroes, many Disney princesses, and the Cars and Planes characters. And I've been trying to come up with something that this compares to in the adult world. I don't have a lot of apps myself. The best I can come up with is those fancy toothbrushes that charge on stands, and I think they pulse your teeth for a certain amount of time. They're often advertised around Christmas time. Clearly, I have never had one, and I'm kind of a minimalist and maybe a curmudgeon when it comes to toothbrushing. One thing I did come up with was that scene in Pretty Woman when Richard Gere's character walks into the bathroom in the hotel and he catches Julia Roberts' character with something, and he thinks she's doing drugs and she's actually hiding dental floss because for some reason, I don't know, it's been like decades since I've watched that film, and she's for some reason embarrassed about taking care of her teeth. And that one scene in that movie had a big impact on me, probably because I watched it when I was maybe a pre-adolescent or early adolescent, and I was going through some very extensive orthodontics to straighten my teeth and correct horrible overbite. And so it really glamorized in a good way the importance of oral hygiene. And I mean, Julia Roberts has the best smile. So my favorite segment on our podcast when Katie and I are working together is when we cast the gritty HBO reboot of a kids show. And the best I can come up with for an adult alternative to the Disney Magic Timer app is if you ever watch ESPN or whatever channel sports are on, there's a lot of Arby's commercials. And I would get that voice artist who does the narration for the Arby's commercial where he ends with, "We've got the meats," to record a reminder that plays on your phone. And it just says, "Time to brush your teeth," in that really deep, authoritative voice. And halfway through, he could say, "You're getting there." And then, "Good job," in like a really sincere way when the 2 minutes is up. I think that would be pretty effective. I would never, ever, not in a million years use this app on my own voluntarily, but I admit it did make me realize that I wasn't brushing my teeth for a full 2 minutes most of the time. Because 2 minutes is kind of long when all you have to do is brush your teeth, especially if you're rushing in the morning like I often am. And so now when I'm brushing, I will glance at my old-fashioned wristwatch and I will eyeball 2 minutes. And I think an old-fashioned timepiece is just about as effective, if not more effective, than the Disney Magic Timer app. Now I'll give you a little more than 10 seconds on whether I think this is good for kids. No, it's not. This app is terrible for kids. Kids do not need any incentive, especially a screen-based animation incentive for brushing their teeth, because in good time, they should realize that the reward for brushing and flossing regularly is nicer smelling breath and less dental work down the line, which is time-consuming and expensive and inconvenient and sometimes painful. 0 stars. You're the worst, Disney Magic Timer app. The worst. That's all I've got today. Thanks for listening to this episode of It's My Screen Time Too. Please rate and review us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. You can reach us on Facebook, That's where you'll find out what we're covering in our next episode. You can suggest stuff for us to watch, which we would love. You can tweet at us at myscreentime2 or email us at myscreentime2@gmail.com. And I wrote the theme music and my kids sang it. Katie does all the other work, so I call her producer. And you can tune in next time for more real talk about the movies and TV beloved by kids and tolerated by parents. See you next time.
It's my screen time too.